Good evening. This is Ronald Allen with Managing Change Through Effective Communications. Tonight's discussion, why are you surprised? And the reason I'm coming at you with this discussion is because we seem to be missing the whole point of the humans as a species to evolve and develop and understand that the baseline of knowledge that we subscribe to at different age groups is very different as the next generation or the next group comes along. You've heard me say I don't believe in generation gaps. I believe it's an interest gap. Good afternoon, Ron. Thanks for checking in. It's an information gap. There's no such thing really as a generation gap because obviously babies are being born constantly. But for consensus purposes and trying to corral us as people and then therefore market towards us and create differentiation of who and what we believe in and somewhat economic impacts, we like to talk about generation gaps. But I want to talk to you tonight about why are we so surprised? And that is to do with the evolution of us as a species, of how artificial intelligence is impacting us, and most importantly, how we are responding to what is, to all intents and purposes, inevitable. Think about this. We have young children, I would say up to the age of 10, okay, today have learned so much more than perhaps everybody else who's much older than they are. Robert, thanks for checking in. Appreciate that. Let's see who else is here. Mickey, thanks for checking in. Appreciate that. So we've got young people, about 10 years old and younger, accumulating information at a faster rate and being able to use that information on a daily basis much more quickly, more rapidly than certainly I did, right? We didn't have this technology. We didn't have the immediacy of getting to data and information. We certainly didn't have the technology of apps, which allows us to gain both functional working capability, mental capability of understanding things. And I'll kind of frame it with a story that I had with a gentleman from Lockheed. And here's an engineer, works on very sophisticated weaponry systems. And as we were talking, he said to me, you know, the younger engineers, and they were in maybe their late 20s, early 30s, they are so fearless. They seem to grasp these concepts of physics and science and chemistry and capabilities and IT. Why is that? He didn't quite understand. He appreciated their ability to take knowledge and apply it across their platforms at a much more rapid rate. He just didn't understand. And I said to him, well, when you and I were growing up, we were just trying to figure out the capacity of electricity. We were trying to ensure that the analysis, quantitative and qualitative analysis tools that measured energy flow, wavelengths, the ability to sustain a platform, right? We were just figuring this stuff out. Today, kids take that for granted. Social media is another example where we don't even think that when you're on Amazon platform and you buy something out of Amazon's pool of products and services, it doesn't need your credit card anymore, even though it's a third-party vendor. This whole concept is no longer surprising because this is how we have evolved, this is how we've matured, this is how we've built in. The real challenge is our mental state of mind hasn't caught up with that. So we're looking at young children saying, wow, they're very intelligent. They should be. That's our evolution. That's what we are supposed to do. Give them a higher platform, a better platform, so that they can create and develop things and produce things that will help us as a species. Now, some of you might have seen a young man on LinkedIn, and it seems that there was a group of Australian reporters interviewing him in a studio. Gentleman's from India, He's about, I believe, 13 years old, and he's done some really incredible stuff. Is it really incredible, or is it what we are designed to do as parents, is to cultivate our youth so that they have a leg up, right? They have a plateau higher than ours, based on ours, by the way, because of our understanding of physics, chemistry, biology, zoology, the sciences, music. All of these things mean that instead of being stuck in the old traditions of thought of what is possible, we break through, we transformational, that's a new word they've been using for about 10 years, and we look at that and say, where can we go with this knowledge? We talk about drones and the technology. Well, the technology has gone to the point where they can send up a drone parallel with a second, and let's say that second drone is of a different nationality. You know where I'm going there. And we can send a signal to that second drone, disable its operating system, upload a signal of our own, a program of our own, and then allow that drone to go back to its owners with data that we manage. Now, before, we would think that's science fiction. Well, wait a minute. Remember a good old program called Star Trek with a flip phone, and some 25, almost 30 years later, it was a reality? And that flip phone became outdated just as quickly as the personal data assistant, the personal assistant data, that PDA contact database computer. The point here is we shouldn't be surprised when our youth show a propensity to want to learn, to use the information that's already been developed at a, say, level 5 and take it to a level 8, 9, or 10. Because if we're being surprised, then we're not understanding what our role is, both as parents, as guardians, as teachers, as managers in business. We're missing our role. Think about it. At one time, theology, religion, was only allowed by certain educated groups. Take any theology you want. I've had friends who are of the Confucianism belief. I've had friends who are of the Janus belief. Hindu, Muslim, Christianity. Each one only allowed certain groups of people to learn. That's the key. So now we see this incredible, massive breakthrough of nationalities that at one time didn't even have a middle class. I'm talking India, I'm talking Japan, right? They didn't have a middle class, and certainly not in the way that the Westerners we've enjoyed in the West. Many Latin American countries also were a massive divide between those that had and those that were still supporting those that have. Well, today, those gaps are definitely blurred. They're not blurring, they're blurred. Just as in America, there really is no such thing as a middle class. Information, usable information, applied information that generates goods, services, or benefits is the goal that we should be giving to our children, that we should be sharing so that they can take this data, take this information, and not just use the surface, as they call it, the soft keys on computers, rather the hard keys, understand programming. Some of you may have seen a previous live chat of mine called code.org, which is amalgamation of some of the larger IT companies in the world, allowing people to understand how to code. And it's not just for the young. It's from people who are literally 3 or 4 years old all the way through, even older than myself, to about 80, 90 years old. As long as your hands are dexterous and your mind is working, you got some marbles up there. It's understanding that our environment has changed. We can create everything in the room that you're in now can be created through code. Go to code.org and you'll see what I mean. It is another, not the next, another level of the human evolution in understanding what is possible, how things matter is created, and how we can create things that before were only relegated to a smaller population of people. Here's another example. Google and Stanford, one of the chief executives, and this is going back many years prior to MOCA, massive online college and learning platforms, right? What's that other one? Sears? It's another online learning platform. The Google executive brought Stanford level education, and instead of having to charge $40,000 that most people cannot afford, charged, I think it was about $2,500. He had over 200,000 applicants. And the argument that Stanford gave was, you're ruining our cachet, our exclusivity. That's how important education is, not was, is, even today. Many colleges, including the college in my backyard, Rowan Community College in Burlington, New Jersey, also from Glasgow, I think Stockton or Glasgow, they are now have free college education. There's obviously certain requirements. What this means is that children, no matter what their economic or social standing, will have access to knowledge that will bring new goods, services, and benefits to our communities at a faster rate. Another platform where, again, we should not be surprised, right? It's just annoying for me to hear people say, wow, these kids are intelligent. Well, what else should they be? And I don't want to hear the argument that, well, they're, these wild and crazy kids. No, there's one kid who moves around the country real fast, pissing off everybody. Okay? There's just one of them. The point is, these colleges and educational institutions are realizing that we need the application of knowledge to be real time, that can match or be matched with manufacturing, which, by the way, some of you may have heard of this gentleman called Leo Sullivan back in the 60s, had asked corporations to come into his school and develop the curriculum so that the kids would learn practical, usable, real-time skills. So even before they graduated, a thing called internships, there you go, they could use those and get a foot in the door. That's where we should be. We should be taking our children and saying, well, yes, of course, I expect you to know this. Yes, of course, I expect you to know that. Yeah, well, this is wonderful. What can you do with it? That's the area of pressure and sustenance we should be providing for our youth. This is not about our youth. This is about our own mental ability to understand that the whole point of us learning, the whole point of us being able to adapt to change, to life's challenges, is to shed the yoke of, oh, wow, I'm so surprised. Wow, that is a unique child. To one of, this is the benchmark that we're all striving for. Let's stop dumbing down ourselves. Let's stop expecting less of any age, and including my own age. As I get older, I want to have fun. My quote for my slogan, if you will, for this year is, I'm 60 going on 6. Because the mind does not know how old it is. Stop telling the brain that you're old. Right? Stop telling your brain that you're old. Age is what? Knowledge is what we're after. Application of that knowledge and the successful achievement of goods, products, goods, services, benefit. That's what we should be. And fortunately, many of the youth out here today are doing exactly that, because they've got access to the data. They're working off a much higher platform than we ever did. A lot of the baseline knowledge and information is well in place. Now they'll take it to the next level. Why can't we have interplanetary population explosion? Why can't we have, here's some other examples. Back in the 70s, we had a thing called AIDS, a bacteria, a disease. Today, they're using parts of that disease to treat forms of cancer. Well, where did that come from? It came from venom from snakes. It came from venom from spiders, okay? Look at what they're doing with marine biology. Remember a guy called Dr. Clousteau? No, that's the Pink Panther. Got caught out on that one. There was a gentleman who did marine biology. I cannot think of his name right now. I know his son and daughter got involved with it. And their studies showed us that from the marine world, there were many treatments and medical advances that came from studying marine biology. Whether it was plankton, whether it was barnacles on oceanic beds, whether it was the marine life itself, even the octopus with its black ink, which is deadly, but used in the right way, can help humans and our need to survive and exist and thrive. So perhaps we need to open our minds a little bit more. Perhaps we need to have a better understanding of what on earth we're here for, and not be so self-indulgent and say, well, I have physical stuff, whereas I've left a legacy, I've left the door open for someone else. I've opened an opportunity or opened a mind, right? I've freed a mind to travel in its own path, not a path that I wish. I was able to take away the shackles, the mental shackles, so that the mind can open up like a flower and blossom and take off and do something that wasn't considered. Here's another perfect example. Maya Angelou and Oprah. O for Oprah. Having a conversation, and Oprah says to Maya Angelou, the school she helped to develop and fund and provide, here's the opportunity, for young girls in Africa. I apologize, I think it was Kenya.